Welcome into the conversation today about resilience. Your 500 seconds, an installment on how to present your resilience every day as your best. This discussion today is about two stories I'm going to share with you about love and heart and communication. And communicating in argument or even in agreement. Here's the first story.
They say when two people are angry at each other, you know why they shout? It's a bit strange because they're right next to each other. Like, why are you shouting? Well, one ancient Sufi saint, he said the reason why people shout when they're angry is because although they're next to each other physically, their hearts have become so far apart. And because their hearts are so far apart, they feel the need to shout to try and make up that distance that has been created. And have you noticed it works the other way as well? When you have a very loving relationship and your heart is very close to someone, sometimes you can be within them in the room and you don't even have to say a word. Just the movement of the face, and they understand you and you understand them.
That's just beautiful. That gentleman putting it in that connotation, in that context about heart and love when it's present or not present. So for me, why I mentioned in these episodes, I always have 820 at the heart of the matter, at the heart of the moment, even when considering even inanimate objects that might upset you in your daily journey. It's always sometimes yours and theirs. When connected, it's a beautiful thing. And when not, it should become evident of how to rectify, how to correct that. The conflict usually, when you have that disconnect between hearts and presence and vibration, the conflict usually arises and becomes evident in being loud and offensive, aggressive, intended to destruct and conquer and win that battle with whoever your antagonist in that engagement. Of course, we can start losing the long war, but also with no concern for those downstream effects of losing those battles and losing that war. You may be thinking, all right, Mr. Ming, Mr. Resilience, Mr. 820, you want me to focus on the now? Yes, I'm asking you that. To focus on, yes, the now with the agreement on the common connection that we have, and not on the imposed or the outsourced reference. That connection from the heart level, the yes, the positive, the love produced from your presence. And that source again, the source you need to reflect on, be attentive to, not the want as your source. From the need internally and not from the outer edges of temporary passion and expression. From that very first impression that brought me here, that brought you here today and at our conception. And maybe we just use that reference just for today. Don't go back to when we individually were born. Let's focus on this moment today that brings us together. I promise you two stories today on this topic. This is the second story. I'm just going to summarize this verbally. Something that happened in discussion between the actor, Mr. Bruce Willis, and 50 Cent. I think maybe, 5, 10, 15 years ago. They had a conversation at some meeting. And that, if I can summarize it, was basically, it referenced that kind of walk and talk softly, yet carry a big stick thing. You remember that from back in the day? Just as an analogy. But in that discussion between Fiddy and Mr. Willis is about speaking measured with a patient pace, with space between your phrases, and at a much lower register and level than those around you. Mr. Willis concurred that that is how you get people to lean in and pay attention and maybe actually listen to you. But when that happens, you got to make sure you have something to say. But you have to make it count. So that meeting, or that conversation between those two gentlemen, and even the first story I share with you today, that can help me with my communication verbally and with my trumpet musically. I'm still a long way away with these last 60 to get there, but that's part of my voyage to purpose and message. I got to get to echoing one story of me. The one story of me that I hope helps to connect my heart with yours and to remain that way. There's no need to yell or, for example, to blow your car horn at people in the crosswalk or at the car speeding on your left. Maybe you can't determine the distance between your heart in your car and the heart in the guy that's cutting you off in traffic. But you certainly can confirm where your heart is in that moment, in this moment. Where is your heart? My heart right now is in presenting this topic, this theme, these podcasts, these observations about resilience to you. That's where my heart is in doing this. Just listen and observe where you feel the true need to make noise instead of sharing your yes, your positive, your love, your productive words and vibrations. That's what drew us here together. That's where I want to be with you here and now. Thank you once again for joining me. As always, stay present, stay current. It is always 8:20.